Again, hello everybody. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes. We still got a number of people that are logging into the webinar today. So we'll get started here in probably about a minute or two. Thanks for your patience. Okay, let's get started. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar about increasing Confluence user adoption with ThemePress. My name is Danny Riley, and I work here at ISOS Technology. A couple things up front. We will be recording today's session, and we'll make it available online after the session, probably later this afternoon. And also, if you have questions, please post them in the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll queue those up for the end of today's session, and we'll get through as many questions as we can. So during today's webinar, we want to focus on how one of our recent clients increased their internal user adoption and overall usage of Confluence by giving it a more familiar look and feel. Basically, they wanted to make something like this, Confluence, look a little bit more like this, maybe a corporate website or intranet. And we help them do that with Brickett's ThemePress. But first, I want to give you just a little bit of background on ISOS Technology and ThemePress. So who is ISOS Technology? Well, ISOS Technology is a software consulting company with four primary service offerings. Process automation, that's basically our Atlassian consulting practice. Our Atlassian expert team understands how to leverage process to transform your business from the inside out, from IT and software development teams to human resources, manufacturing, business development, and more. Our team helps make process automation our clients' key to long-term sustainable growth and success. Software solutions. This is one of our core offerings, and the ISOS team is skilled at custom application development across a spectrum of business functions, both internally facing and customer facing, using the industry's most advanced application lifecycle management tools and agile best practices. We can advance your projects with confidence, keeping them on track from start to finish while improving quality, user satisfaction, and the end results. Then there's our mobile solutions. We have extensive experience in custom applications from iOS, Android, Windows, HTML5, and ISOS is empowering our clients and helping them to stay competitive in this mobile age. And last but not least, smart recruiting. So ISOS takes an entirely different approach to IT recruiting. We're focused on quality and cultural fit above resume volume and keywords. We rely on our real-world technical experience to screen and vet IT talent. So there's a little backdrop on ISOS. So what is ThemePress? ThemePress is a next generation add-on from the outstanding team at Bricket. ThemePress is about transforming Confluence to make it easy for anyone to share information and ideas. ISOS uses ThemePress to create intranets, knowledge bases, portals, websites, and more for our clients. ThemePress helps our clients get the most out of their Confluence platform. But now focusing on this one specific client project. Our client chose to fast-track their Confluence transformation with the theme Fast Track Service Package. They had an idea of what they wanted their Confluence instance to look like, and they even had some mock-ups and artifacts. And ISOS was able to take those and make suggestions and work with the client to get started on building out their new Confluence theme. Putting our client on the fast track meant a 3 to 4 week project timeline where we held weekly review sessions to review and make any needed adjustments to the theme along the way. And once the theme began to take shape, the ISOS team installed that theme in their instance of Confluence. Again, all this took about 3 to 4 weeks to transform their Confluence instance in a real meaningful way. So, welcome to ThemePress by Bricket. Now I'd like to take you through the project and talk about some of the implementation pieces and highlight certain theme features the client incorporated to transform their Confluence instance. The main goal here for the client was simple: increase internal user adoption of Confluence, so their employees. They wanted Confluence to look and function in a familiar way, and we'll take you through some of the components they highlighted. The first starting point was to add branding to the page simply by including the company logo. Let's start with the basics, right? So that's what we did. And we used the built-in features within Theme Designer to pull in the client logo. This begins to create a theme and branding their employees are familiar with. Once we pulled in the client logo, we have full control over the size and placement options. We could work with the client to make sure it was perfectly positioned and matched their corporate brand. For this particular site, the client wanted a simple navigation menu, one that could contain a number of additional links and a drop-down, and this was critical because it would guide their employees to content that they felt was very important, again, to increase that user adoption. And building out the navigation within Theme Designer is basically a really intuitive feature. ISOS was able to build out the menu hierarchy and supporting Confluence pages. After that, Theme Designer provided the ability to adjust the look and feel in the right way to meet the client's brandings. And it was important for the client to have a custom marquee at the top of the page for news and announcements. This was a critical feature because they frequently put out sensitive updates to their workforce. And to implement this custom element, we use the standard Confluence HTML macro to embed for their marquee code. Now this element was very specific to this client, but it does show the flexibility and customization that you can build within Confluence with ThemePress. Again, a nice feature for this particular client. The client also wanted a gallery slider, but it was important that we used full images with their actual links. Instead of using a standard gallery slider macro, we implemented something with more intuitive and gave the user more control over the navigation. The particular slider that we chose allowed us to tag required pictures that we wanted to use with personalized labels. In this instance, we named the labels sliders, of course. This in turn would only display those particular attachments with the correct label names. The feature was the focal point of the client's theme with the intent to provide more imagery for their employees and draw their attention again to the most relevant information in a very familiar way. An RSS feed was also a main point that they wanted to be included for viewing purposes. This element was needed because they They relied most on their recent news and important information through the use of existing RSS feeds. And as part of Confluence's macro library, RSS feeds are fully supported and often very useful to implement. Once we selected the RSS macro and pulled in the client-specific RSS URL, we were ready to further style the feed components and align with the client's style guide and branding. This feature again demonstrates the importance of pulling in the most current information right into Confluence for their employees to easily navigate to without using the standard Confluence navigation. Custom polls. So this was an interesting one, and kind of a big part of the company culture was taking polls. They wanted to display this somehow on a page without being intrusive and gather feedback from their clients on particular things. ISOS did some research and we found a Confluence polling macro which could provide the requested functionality to quickly create new polls to broadcast to their employees. This particular macro provided a few default styling options. Again, ISOS was able to work with that client to select the base style and then further customize the macro to fit the brand and page locations. The first poll, something everybody can appreciate, free lunch, but a way again to get collaboration going with their employees and get them participating in their Confluence instance. By default, ThemePress has a very professional looking footer, but this client wanted something a bit more simplistic, tailored toward their original brand, which tends to be, more no nonsense. So we worked with them to create a custom footer instead of the ThemePress default. Again, there's a ton of flexibility within ThemePress, and out of the box, their footer is great. But ThemePress also provides the ability to swap out many versions depending upon what the customer likes. And this goes, you can swap out as many options as you like, picking the right one. And that's something that we did with this client, iterating over different simplistic footers and headers to provide the right one to match their corporate branding. And last but not least, social media icons. It was really important to the client that their employees could easily navigate to their social media channels. And what a better way to display them, but in a fashion that their employees are accustomed to seeing in the page footer. ThemePress again provides a number of ways to implement these types of items. In this instance, we use the ThemePress rollover image link macro. And this macro gives the option of a hover state on any kind of link, which the client really liked. And as you can see, the theme is shaping up nicely and closely mirror their corporate website for internal employees. So a quick recap of some of the features and functions and why they wanted to bring this in to Confluence. We started out with a basic logo. Again, simple branding items to make Confluence familiar to their employees. Menu navigation. In Confluence, there is menu navigation, but it's not as intuitive as it can be when it looks like a corporate website or an intranet site. And the client was adamant that they have menu navigation that guided their employees to important Confluence content for better collaboration, allowing them to get to the most important information and start sharing their knowledge and information. And a marquee, specific to this client, but very important to highlight very important, up-to-the-minute corporate news that they want to broadcast to all of their employees. And again, a gallery slider, more with navigation, but more brand imagery built into the navigation to direct them again to the content that the corporate feels necessary for their employees to collaborate on and absorb. And of course, RSS feeds. This particular client had two distinct RSS feeds, and they wanted to make sure that those were updated real time in on the main landing page of Confluence. The ability to categorize those RSS feeds and then display them in a style that matched their corporate branding. And of course, the pulling macros, this was something that they've done for a long time internally, and they want to continue doing on their intranet site here with Confluence. And on this landing page, they could get quick feedback from the most important surveys that they have going on within their corporate domain. And of course, sandwiched between it all, the footer, keeping it basic and simple, but pulling in corporate branding items like their logo, different imagery, navigation links, and social media channels. It was important for them that the social media channels be available to all their employees as soon as they landed in Confluence. That's a big part of their business and something that they felt was paramount from a navigation perspective. So today's webinar was a quick recap, of course, and there's a lot more to building out this Confluence instance using ThemePress. But we wanted to provide you today with some of the highlights and demonstrate and give you some ideas of what you might be able to do with your Confluence instance. I'm sure you have ideas, and those ideas can be brought to life in Confluence with Brickett's ThemePress. We welcome any questions that you guys might have. We wanted to keep today's webinar short and sweet, limited to about 30 minutes, but we would like to take any questions that you guys have out there at this time. I think Grant is queuing up those questions, so if you give us a second, we'll take a look at them and provide some answers. So first question is, where can we get ThemePress? Is it available in the marketplace? Yes, it is, and I'm glad that this person already knows about the marketplace. And if you visited there, you can do a quick search in Atlassian's marketplace for ThemePress, and you'll find it there. It's available for download and trial, and you can get started easily by pulling that into your Confluence instance. So good question. There's also pricing guides there on the marketplace if you're interested. Another question. What do you need from our team to get started with ThemePress? So there was a slide about that, but a good question. It's appropriate to reiterate. Typically, if we're going to do something on this fast-track 3 to 4 week package, the client would already have their corporate logo, starting out real basic, but they would also probably have a style guide or some guidance from how they wanted the instance of Confluence and ThemePress to look, both from fonts and colors and an overall corporate style guide. And then any other artifacts that would be out there, any navigation research that they've done, internal meetings where they've decided what are the most appropriate features and what they want to highlight. Those are basically the things that this client had. And if you don't, we have a design team that could work with you to pull out those items as well. But good question. Another question. Once you customize a site for your clients, do you offer supporting services to them? Yes, you bet. So once we deliver the theme to our clients, we help them install it into their Confluence instance. And then from there, we do provide additional services beyond the fast track package that I mentioned today to guide them through putting that into production, or also just ongoing support. A lot of times what clients will want to do is get a baseline out there for their theme, and then they get a ton of ideas and a ton of input. And they'll want to incorporate some of those items into the theme at a later date. And of course, we have ThemePress consultants and designers that can help you do that and slowly increment and add to that brand as you go. Great question. It looks like that might be all the questions that we have, at least currently. If you have more, please send them to us. We'd be happy to answer them. We'll be putting up some additional information on our website, and we'll also be making this recording available to everybody that was in attendance and also to those who weren't online to look for that. And again, thank you for your attendance today. And we look forward to talking with you in the near future. And just as I mentioned that, it looks like we might have some other questions coming in. So while we have time, let me address them. Will ThemePress work with content I already have in my Confluence intranet? Excellent question. It definitely will, and I should have mentioned that. So this particular client already had Confluence out there, but again, their main goal was to increase user adoption. They weren't seeing the user adoption within Confluence that they had hoped. They had built out their intranet with a lot of useful information, but they would find that people would come to them and ask questions about information that already existed out in Confluence. And again, that was the main goal. So pulling in this theme, we didn't have to do anything to that Confluence information. We were allowed to pull that up into the main page and highlight that in certain areas, like you saw with the navigation, with the RSS feeds, with the popular feeds. And that was, again, the main goal, is to take that existing Confluence information and just show that in a more familiar way and navigate your employees directly to those. Yeah, and so I think that was the last question. So again, thanks to everybody for your attendance and your interest in today's webinar. We look forward to communicating with you in the near future and talk with you all soon. Thanks again.